Now, everything that you guys have talked about so far during this donkey rides, it's a sexy way to mule around. I would say the sexiest. I don't think there's any animal sexier than a donkey.
And now, Some Nobodies presents PowerPoint Showdown, where each presenter arrives unprepared and just has to do their best. Without further ado, this week's keynote speaker.
Hello, and thank you for joining us for our conference today. Tonight, you'll hear 4 presentations discuss our topic, alternative energy. With me, as always, is Mess Hall, Halliburton Shillingsby, and Jessica Paul. Jess Paul. Jessica Paul. Jess Paul. I'll be your keynote speaker, GUY ICOGNEATO, and I will be leading this conference. For those of you joining us for the first time, each speaker will be given 10 minutes to present on our topic for the week. After each presentation, there will be a short Q&A from the panel. After the 4th presentation, our panelists will vote on which speaker will be awarded the $50,000 scholarship to Some Nobodies University and the Nostalgia Prize. Without further ado, I would like to get my presentation started. Alternative energies. Alternative to what exactly? There are things that have energy that we use. And if we don't use the energy of the things that have the energy that we use, what else could we possibly use? These are alternative energies. Now, I would like to make an alternative to the energies that we use, and I'll make my presentation on alternative energies starting right now. Next slide. Not next now. Now next. This is, whoever's in charge of the direction of this is terrible. Please, my first slide. Now, there will be types of energy that we already use. And then we'll discuss their alternatives. I'll explain this. I'll explain every single one of these things in great, excruciating detail. Now, gravitational potential. We all use gravity to keep ourselves anchored. As everyone knows, we harness this gravitational power so that we don't fly off the earth. We're all thinking about it all the time. Alternatively, I would like to come up with some sort of energy that we don't have to think about. And because if we stop thinking about gravity keeping us on the earth, we're just going to fly out into space. So I would like an alternative, something that we don't have to think about. Now, my researchers are on this, but as of yet have not been able to come up with anything. Now, the next thing we have is electrochemical. These are the things that keep our human bodies going. We use the chemicals that come off of electricity to fuel our bodies. It's like photosynthesis, except we get it from our televisions and our microwaves and our radios. You know the types of things that create electric. Now, our internal thermal energies, we use those to power our bicycles and our scooters. As of right now, this is the most efficient way to power the vehicles that we use every day in life. And exploding lakes. Exploding lakes are where we get all of our seafood from. I don't think I need to explain that in too great detail, because when we explode the lakes, the fish come out already cooked. We don't have to use any of our external energy to prepare them so that they're ready to be eaten. Next slide, please. What does alternative even mean? If prayer done with a clean heart and intentions helps generate good energy, okay? The good energy that comes from our thoughts and prayers power the electrical things that we use to get our internal electricity chemicals from. But if you use bad energy, you can turn that into good energy if you just pray. All you have to do is pray. We've got to pray just to make it today. We've got to pray. Pray. And then I ask you, what is the alternative to prayer? I will let you know in the next slide. Now I'm going to say topic 1, energy. I know you were saying I was about to explain the alternative to prayer. I'll do that. Don't even worry about it. Just not right now. Next slide, please. Now, as we all know, a table without legs, it's just a board. I'm sorry, I'm going to need to put my glasses on for this one because I don't think that I saw, I did see it right. Now, a table without legs is just a board. And you're going to be bored while I'm telling you things about energy. Here we have a table, no legs. Well, between 2 legs is part of it. We have energy. We have wind energy. Another name for wind energy is a breeze. A funnier name for wind energy is a butt breeze. That refers to the natural gas that comes out of your derriere. And as we all know, these things power our prayers. All right. Number. Almost number 2. Your butt breeze, almost a number 2. Does that have enough energy to power anything? Absolutely. It depends on the amount of beans you've eaten that day, the amount of Brussels sprouts you've eaten the day before, or the amount of meat you've eaten 2 days prior. Now, I'm not going to spend this much time on each one of these. We have gas power, also known as vapor. Could also be a butt breeze, but most of us call that a flizzle. It's a number 5 on the periodic table of elements. And it's absolutely energy. Humothermal, which is what us smart people call body heat. The funnier name for that is thigh sweat, although body heat could be, we're not going to talk about this. It's a number 8. It's the most energetic type of body heat. It's a mild energy. And then we have biomass, which is also known as waste. I know I said that I wasn't going to take this much time to explain each of these, but I don't want to skip on how important these things are to our energy. Now, the funnier name for biomass is dookie. And it's a solid. It's a solid number 2. It does create energy if you push hard enough. I'm going to ask for the next slide, please.
Thank you.
Now, if you collect all of the types of energy that we were talking about on the last slide, put it in trucks, and bury it under the ground, in millions of years, they'll be able to, the cat people or the lizard people, whoever takes over after the humans go extinct, will be able to pull that fuel out from under the ground to harness it into energy. Hopefully they won't. Hopefully they're smarter than us. I'm not going to go into the whole table of where all of this energy goes and where it comes from. So I'm going to ask for the next slide, please. Now we have one energetic timeline. In the beginning, there was energy caused by the Big Bang. There was not a lot going on back in the Big Bang times. Shit was cold. The stars weren't fully functional until Tom Hanks created fire. Some asshole named Ben from the terrible, terrible city of Philadelphia. He wanted to play with his brother's favorite key in a storm. He said, "Electricity." And this shot a bolt of lightning into Ben Franklin's body, and that formed many gases. And he expelled those gases, and we're still breathing in those gases today. That's the cause of all of our gases. They pass through us. They go into our seats, into the seats of the cars that are powered by our gas power, which is how everybody drives their cars. Jack Billings presents frack-powered buses to piss off the mouses. The thing about Jack Billings is he does a lot of things just to piss off people. So for him to take away the naturally created energy that we create out of our butts and our thigh sweats, to the amount of gas that we need to use in order to make up for that, we're destroying the earth. I'm not gonna be able to candy coat this. We're destroying the earth. We're all going to die in 2022. I didn't want to put this in here, but my assistant, this was supposed to be left off. But now that everybody knows, sorry, we're going to die this year. So because of that, I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Let's get on with all of these presentations. We have precious few weeks left on this planet. Next slide, please. In conclusion, my assistant, he threw plugs in here. We're not gonna plug my assistant. What we're gonna do is I'm going to show you this picture. Now, in this picture, you might see a young woman from the back with a ponytail, very strange hairstyle, or you might see an old man looking pensive, looking down, big mustache. Now, as this image flips around in your brain, it's causing energy. I can see the electrostatic coming off of your heads, and that is what we use to power the electronics, which power our biomass, which makes our gas. And in conclusion, the alternative to that is prayer. If anyone on the panel has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them right now. Miss Jess Paul.
Thank you. Thank you so much for giving that wonderful presentation. I wanted to ask about the chart. the almost 2 versus the solid 2. What type of energy would you feel is most fluid between the two of those, between the almost and the solid 2?
Well, the in between, we're not able to harness the power of the liquid
Too
in
volatile.
between the solid number 2 and the
Right.
almost 2. Right now, the scientists haven't been able to figure that out. And unfortunately, the only thing that would have been able to save us was harnessing the power of the in between the almost 2 and the solid 2.
Right.
They were never able to figure out, and now it's too late.
And that is our demise, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that will be our
Understood.
demise. The fact that we have not been able to use the energy that comes from our liquid feces is the
So
reason
elucidating. Thank you so much
Yes,
for that
yes.
presentation.
that Mr. Mess Hall.
First and foremost, I would like to say thank you very much for taking time off of your book tour to do this presentation. It's pretty impressive. I have not made the book tour yet, but I'm excited about it. I did have one question about one of your slides, though.
Yes.
If the producer could bring up the slide that is, I believe it's the one energetic timeline. I feel like you skipped over 2003, which made a pretty big dent since you put it on this timeline here. Will you please go over anything that happened in 2003, why it made this slide?
Absolutely not. We don't talk about Teslas.
Oh.
We don't talk about Elon Musk
Okay.
or anything that he is supposedly invented.
Okay.
Again, my assistant really fucked this one up.
Yeah.
What can you do when you don't pay them the right amount? They just
That's fair.
they just put anything in there.
Yeah.
Well, he can get as mad as he wants. We only have a couple weeks left.
Unions be
Yes,
damned.
Mr. Halliburton Shillingsby.
Yes. First and foremost, thank you for the presentation. I do appreciate the information. You made a large deal of prayer, and of course, we did not begin this seminar without a prayer. I was wondering if you could lead us in one.
Absolutely. If everyone could clasp their hands in front of them, we will pray. Satan, I know that you have not blessed us with any more time on this planet. That is your will. We will all soon be in hell, which, contrary to what the Christians believe, is a pretty cool big party. The only people who aren't invited are Christians.
The goody
Now,
two shoes, right?
We do appreciate you bringing us all down to hell. We're just sad that we won't be able to meet Tom Hanks because he was too good during his life. So sorry about everyone's death, but it's his will. Amen.
Amen.
Hail Satan. Thank you. Thank you. I have no further questions.
All right. Well, then that's my presentation. And I would like to pass it off to JESS PAUL.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity to present to you forms of energy, 2 alternative for mainstream. Okay, so this is going to be hopefully a very illuminating exploration into news, communication, and blogging especially. That's going to be an incredibly big part of this, of what I'm going to teach you today about things that are a little bit too alternative for some of us normies. Okay. Crabs. Okay, so first of all, when we're talking about the kinds of energy that really have a bite to them, that really pinch the competition, it has to be crabs. And especially, this is very important, that it has to be crabs that are most prone to attack muscular white males. So all of you guys, you're safe. Next slide, please. Okay. Like I said, these are kinds of energies that are much too they strike fear in the heart of a lot of normal people. And so the one that I'm especially afraid of are corgi towers. You know, when we play Jenga and all of our cards fall beside us, we didn't especially account for a lot of them sticking their fluffy butts in our faces. And so now we're just covered in just fluffy butts with no tails because they're just cuter that way for some reason. And yes, and so corgi tower, that's kind of the alternative to nuclear energy. It's just everything can go to shit real fast with a corgi tower. So next slide, please. Okay. By the numbers, data shows that this is a graph and it's color coded. And when we're looking at certain types of let's just take one for example so I can kind of talk through it. So bank butt, that the numbers that are included in that is 221, 196, 199. As you can see, they're going in descending order. So that is a type of energy that we do not want to engage with. Now, on the other hand, grade butt, 48, 94, 83. See, there's kind of a bell curve with that one. So we might want to consider, if we wanted to keep things a little bit more stable, we might want to consider grade bat. Do you guys understand? I hope that I'm not talking over your head too much. Okay.
I'll save my questions for the end of the presentation.
Understood.
Same.
Thank you so
They will
much.
all be on this slide, though.
I welcome them and I appreciate all of your deeper consideration. Next slide, please. Okay. So as we continue on this subject, we've got to really focus on the future. The future is now. And this that you're looking at is a graph of how basically the descending order, like when it comes to first, second, and third, it's kind of how our system, how everything happens. So when you get a pinch on the shoulder, that first goes into your muscle. Then you might remember like the tacos that you had for lunch. So you'll feel it in your gut, and eventually all of that pain and sensation will go right to your brain. And that's how we power the heart. I know you guys probably didn't know that. You didn't know that, because I mean, we're not all scientists, but that is the way it works. It's the way it's always worked. And this is where we are. I'm so glad I get to educate you on this. Next slide, please. Okay. What's up with the mainstream? Okay. So if you will look to the graph, look to the pictogram, we have a difference here between undeformed and deformed. 1-to-1 mapping of points. Yes. So when we compare these two, as you see, when it's undeformed, it looks a little bit like a potato that you cut right before you put it in the microwave. When it's deformed, though, I cut a larger slit in the potato so that I could get more steam in. And of course, that will generate more power, you know? If you understand. So 1-to-1, this is obviously the worst kind of alternative. So 1 to several mapping points. See that this is where on our potato, the steam was coming out way too fast, and it just filled the microwave with vapor, and it made my potato really dry because now I do not have any more steam left in my potato, and therefore the power resources have depleted. And when it comes to the mainstream understanding that, they're too fixated on the I can't believe it's not butter that I am putting in the potato. They're not looking at the foundation of the problem, if you understand. They're looking at these alternative and superficial fillings and flavorings they were putting on it, and not looking at the bigger picture. Next slide, please. Why big energy orchestrated my expulsion from energy college? Okay. I wasn't sure if I was going to talk about this because it's very personal to me. But as you can see in figure 1, the typical memristor physical model experimented setup, of course, and we of course this is in black and white, so you have to go online to see colors. So when it comes to this battery that I brought into class, I filled it with my ex's blood. I had some from, we were just talking about hell, from the last seance, the last kind of, the pentagram kind of thing that we did. I had some on hand, and I thought, well, of course, this is how we looked at the muscle, gut, brain battery kind of problem. This is how it works. When you have a battery filled with human blood, you get arrested by the police. I tried to tell them that it was donated to me and that I had it legally, but that doesn't matter if you have a battery filled with human blood and you try to pass it off as your chemistry experiment. So I have a mugshot. Yes, it does have a kind of fake food on my head in the mugshot. I bet you can't guess which one it is. Next slide, please. In conclusion, alternative energies too alternative for mainstream. I'd like to show you just an image of somebody in this world, kind of the general population, who are just consuming a little bit too much. They're taking in all that they are given, and they are trying to rationalize what we can possibly do with the energy that we want to create. And all of that water is like an ocean. All of that consuming of liquids is just too much for them. And eventually they vomit it all back into their trash can. And the trash can had holes in it, so just all the water went everywhere. And that is, in conclusion, why alternative energies are too alternative for the normies. Thank you so much for having me. I will take any questions from the audience, from my fellow peers. Oh yes, let's go down the line. Mr. Shillingsby.
Yes, thank you for the presentation. Very illuminating.
You're welcome.
Now, on this first slide, you had mentioned that you would cover blogging. I was curious if you could address some blog topics that would cover these forms of energy in greater detail.
Right. So, blogging is actually alternative to the mainstream as it is. And this is where you find a little bit of the truth. If you dig deeper into blogs, you're going to find how some people believe that the world is actually a disc and we don't have any massive volume to it. So that is where we find a little bit more of the illumination that nobody in the mainstream is really talking about. So yeah, we've got a more I want to say a more horizontal earth. We have I want to say acid rain, But I think more people are learning about that as well, and so it's becoming a little bit more mainstream. Yes, but
Okay.
are some of the topics covered on the blogs in
Well, thank you.
general.
I appreciate the illumination.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
very nice.
Yes, Mess Hall, thank you.
Yeah. Once again, even to piggyback off of what Halliburton said, thank you for your time. We did get a chance to see you tour in your college when you were going over hacky sack energy, and that was very insightful.
Right. Thank you. I'm so impressed that you saw that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I did
Bringing
have
up
one.
that old nugget. Yes.
I did have one question though. It seemed in that one slide that you were using a microwave to, I guess, cook a baked potato,
Right.
so that you could get the steam energy to power the microwave to cook a potato. If you could please go into the process of getting steam from a microwave.
Right. So, in my experience, I we were talking, we went over the muscle, gut, brain kind of mapping. What I did is I took my brain and I kind of it was actually between kind of like my brain and kind of my gut. It was in my heart. It was like this energy wave that was coming off of my chest, and only I could see it. It was like liquid, it was like blue, and I was funneling it into the microwave, and it was bringing out all of the steam. Now, nobody else could see this. Nobody else could detect it, but this is what I had to my disposal. It's a very alternative kind of ventilation system, and the most beautiful word is cellar door. Okay.
I could not have asked for a better answer. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Yes, GUY Incognito, thank you so much for being here.
Yes, I didn't understand a word you said. Not because your presentation was bad, it's because I'm very stupid. So my question is, huh?
Oh, well, I guess that just makes you one of the mainstream, and I'm very sorry to tell you that you might be a normie, GUY Incognito. I'm very sorry to tell you.
I knew it. I knew it when he came in here. I knew it.
I can spot him from a mile away.
I have no more questions. Fortuna Salad,
Thank you.
really well put together, and now
Thank you so much.
understand alternative energies.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
GUY Incognito, would you like to?
Yes. Sorry, I was thrown off by how dumb I am. Our next presentation is Halliburton Shillingsby, who, as his name might be able to understand from, he's an alternative energy guy.
Nice.
Thank you, Mr. Incognito. And of course, I am not legally obligated to speak on any ties or business agreements or payments or paychecks or bribes I've accepted from people who are not members of the alternative energy community. So without further ado, let's move forward with my presentation on alternative energies. Be the energetic change you want to see. Now, of course, that phrase can be attributed to Mahatma Gandhi back in the day. Be the change you want to see in the energy market. Of course, a very, very outspoken advocate for alternative energies. And alternative energies back in the day meant any number of things. The energy of nonviolent protest, the energy of anti-colonialism, and the energy of oil. Maybe he might have said that. It's not on a historical record, but the fact that he didn't say it is also not on the historical record. Let's go to the next slide, please. All right, so why do we need alternative energies? Now, I have a list of questions here. I'm going to read through the questions before I answer any of them, just so you can understand what is coming up next. Now, first, do we need alternative music? Do we need alternative medicine? Should I alternate my bed sheets? Lifestyles? They can be alternative, right? Can you use alternative in a sentence? All right, let's go down these in a line. First off, do we need alternative music? Yes. Do we need alternative medicine? Maybe. It depends on the style of the alternative medicine. Now, if that alternative medicine is just a good old-fashioned, just a kiss on the forehead, it's a strong and healing medicine as I've ever heard of it. Should I alternate my bed sheets? Alternate with what? That's the question I want to follow up with. Do I alternate them with a blanket? Just lay a blanket down on my mattress and sleep on that instead? You could. But when you toss and turn thinking about all the alternatives you have available to you, that's going to get thrown off and you're going to be sleeping on a bare mattress. And who knows when the last time was that you cleaned it. Lifestyles, they can be alternative, right? They can be, such as sleeping on a blanket instead of a bed sheet. I would call that alternative. Can you use alternative in a sentence? Yes, I can, and I believe I have. But if you want me to, again, I just use alternative in a sentence right here.
Whoa.
Thank you. Next slide, please.
Whoa.
Now, of course, we have to figure out the alternative to what? Now, there's a lot of alternatives available to us. Alternatives to power, alternatives to wind, alternatives to lava. You tell me how. I'm not going to ask you the questions, though, because this is my presentation, and you don't speak until you ask me questions. So, let's go over this. If I can get these around my earphones. There we go. All right. Alternative to power, holding hands. Truth to power. Truth is the alternative to power. I think that's the start of that sentence. Alternative to wind? You just blow out really hard. I played trumpet when I was younger. You just exhale. You can do it. I can do it. Most people can do it. If you can't do it, you always have the alternative to lava. Cold rock. The alternative to lava is cold rock because lava is hot rocks. Lava moves and rocks don't. Now, of course, you tell me how. That's rhetorical. Please don't tell me how right now. Of course, that will have to wait until the Q&A segment at the end of this presentation. Speaking of the end of this presentation, let's move on. Can we get to the next slide, please? All right, now what is the alternative to this? Now, of course, I have a figurative representation here of me wanting to play Elden Ring. Topical. It's not going to date this episode at all whatsoever when you watch it 3 years down the line on whatever YouTube turns into in the future. But me wanting to play Elden Ring, holding up text messages and bills. Now, of course, as a non-representative of Halliburton, as my name would imply, I don't respond to text messages. I have people underneath me to do that for me. And I don't pay bills because I have people who pay me to do that for me. It scans. Don't worry about it. I'm thinking ahead to when I can play Elden Ring. I can sit down with the controller in my hand and I can finally beat Volcano Manor, which is giving me a really hard time right now. Anyone who understands that reference is probably really happy right now and grinning like a madman. Zounds is what I was going to say because there's no other relevant word in this presentation. I will start with the letter Z. Let's go to the next slide, please. I'm going to do this again. What would an alternative to the alternative be? Now, I don't want to intrude too much on Fortuna Salad's presentation of two alternative for the mainstream, but I do want to ask, did we even think of that? What is alternative to the alternative? Is it energies? Kind of. You can see this uneven pie slice right here. Not everybody's getting an even slice of the pie, but you have solar, aqua, wind, and landfill heat. Now, solar, aqua, and wind, I kind of talked about that in previous parts of my presentation with the lava and the other stuff that I talked about earlier in my presentation. But, of course, landfill heat. Now, of course, you make enough landfill. Okay, let me see if I can explain this in a way that doesn't drag on for too long. You put garbage in the ground, you burn the garbage in the ground, and then you get the energy from the heat. It's alternative to the alternative. The thing about the mainstream is that it's the mainstream. When you go to alternative, you go all the way around the clock. You turn 360 degrees and you walk away. But instead of walking away, you're walking back towards the original target. Alternative to the alternative, mainstream. And as a representative of as Halliburton Shillingsby, excuse me for just a second. As a completely and totally independent contractor with no prior connections or ulterior motives, I tend to recommend the alternative to the alternative. Let's move on to the next slide, please. Now, alternative to the alternative is nice, but I'm going to talk about the mainstream a little bit, and that mainstream is oil. And what is oil? It's made out of our ancestors. I don't mean literally. I see the look on your faces. I mean figurative ancestors on the planet, the dinosaurs, the algae. Now, what would our ancestors have thought? The dinosaurs, the algae? No one knows. At first, I thought that was Jamie Lee Curtis. Jamie Lee Curtis doesn't know.
No.
Nobody knows what our ancestors thought because our ancestors were dinosaurs and they didn't speak English. Let's move on to the next slide. Hold on, let me. Okay. Now, of course, I have to make this personal for you. Now, I'm going to tell you the tale of energy and destruction that my Gramsci used to tell me before the new year. Now, not so long ago, it used to be a New Year's tradition that we would set off fireworks, sparklers, you'd have Christmas lights going because it's only a week after Christmas. You're not going to take your decorations down. Of course, in southern Alabama and Texas, where we lived, we wouldn't take our Christmas lights down all year. We liked it to be festive. You know, it's tasteful. It's holidays. So what? It's St. Patrick's Day. Your Christmas lights are still up? Nah, we're just celebrating St. Patrick's Day with a little bit more color. It's great. So yeah, we grew up on an oil farm, going out, tilling the fields, working it, pumping it by hand. It used to be the good old days. You used to know the value of your labor, physical work. But of course, the sparklers and those Christmas lights don't mix too well when the black gold comes out of the ground. And of course, way back in the day, Gramsci used to take his sparklers out in the oil fields and he used to light those fountains on fire. It's gorgeous. Unbelievable. And let me tell you, you've never celebrated Cinco de Mayo like that before. Christmas lights, flaming oil geysers. Man, it takes me back. Anyway, let's go to the next slide. Let's wrap this up. In conclusion, energy is energy. Potassium? Okay. Bananas? Yeah, they're high in potassium. Potassium gives you energy. Last time I went to the doctor, she told me my potassium was low. Told me to eat a banana. I'm like, all right. Just one? She goes, nah, probably one a day. I go, all right, if you say so. But yeah. Alternative energies. Oil. Christmas lights. Christmas lights on Cinco de Mayo. Bananas. You know it. If you go alternative to the alternative, going back into the mainstream, that's fine. So long as you got that alternative energy going, I don't think you're going to have a problem. Just like Gramsci used to say, don't set that oil field on fire. And I think that's going to conclude my presentation for the day. Let's take some questions from the panel. Guy, it looked like you had a question early on while I was still speaking.
Yeah.
Okay.
You said a lot of things.
God,
Most of which I don't think I have any possibility of understanding.
Okay.
The thing that I would like you to clear up is you said that the alternative to wind was blowing out.
Yes.
Is that not just wind?
I think that's a very reductionist point of view to have. And from someone who self-admits as dumb, I guess I wouldn't expect any other question. However, the difference is that when I exhale, when you exhale, we generate breath. When the earth exhales, it generates wind. And I understand the interchangeability of the terms breath and wind, but in all honesty, the earth's not alive, so I hesitate to call it a breath.
Oh.
Did that answer your question? Or
Absolutely not.
No?
But
Okay.
I'm not going to understand it even if you go any further.
Okay, very good. I think mess hall? Yes, okay, I see the brick.
Yeah, I have a two-part question and one aggressive statement. Thank you for showing up.
Of course.
Okay, so my question is, earlier on you spoke about the time of your New Year's on the oil fields of Alabama and Texas, which are obviously states and states apart. Is this two different memories, or did you happen to somehow have an oil field on the border of Alabama and Texas? And then my second question, you don't think Cinco de Mayo is a new year, right?
No, I believe my reference to Cinco de Mayo was in reference to the fact that we left our Christmas lights up all year.
Oh,
and that
yeah.
we would reach Cinco de Mayo and our Christmas lights would still be up, and we celebrate with additional color because Cinco de Mayo is I mean, you tell me what colors. And Christmas lights tend to be kind of any color you want it to.
So Gramsci was telling you the story before the new year of the Cinco de Mayo, in which you almost set a Texas, Alabama oil field on fire with sparklers.
If that's what makes you feel comfortable, then that's a story I will agree with.
This is a question. You can answer it however you like.
I believe I just did. And you had a question about the geography of the United States?
I don't think so.
Okay. Yes, Jess Paul, aka Fortuna Salad.
Hi, thank you for that. I wanted to know if there are any plans on getting lava. People don't have access to it. Is there plans of getting people better access to lava as an alternative fuel source?
I'm glad you brought that up, actually. Completely unrelated to me in any way whatsoever. I'm not being paid by them, but I believe the Halliburton Company is planning on drilling down to the center of the planet and just letting all that stuff right up onto the surface.
Wow.
Now, of course, it will be tested at various people's manners, which is why Volcano Manor is relevant to the topic at hand. But I do believe we will be setting up lava windmills to harness that power, because in essence, all human power ever is generated by steam turning a big wheel.
Oh, so very similar to my baked potato analogy.
It seems he
Yes.
stole that slide exactly.
Except instead
Well,
of a
it's all
potato
connected,
skin,
isn't it?
instead of a potato skin, it's a crust of the earth, and instead of that steamed microwave potato, it is the liquid mantle of the planet being forcibly pushed through the core.
That is one hot potato.
Yes, it is. All right. Any further questions?
I have 0.
All right. Despite Mess Hall's seemingly aggressive stance on questions, I yield the floor.
All right. We're going to get to our last presenter of the day, who is a man made of brick, and his name is Mess Hall.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for staying. I know this presentation has been at least 6 hours after that whole debacle with wind/earth breath. But I'm here to talk about not only alternative energies, but the remedial alternative energies. Now, to have alternative energies, you have to understand what energy is to begin with, to be able to alternate from everyone, from itself, and others that are full of energy. We're going to get into that. I'm going to start us off remedially. Get through it to the next slide, please. But first, at the conclusion of this presentation, I will deliver an original limerick about alternative energy. Now, the reason I'm so passionate about this, just energies in general, especially the alternative version, is because I had a prog rock band back in 1992. And we were pretty big into just kind of, I wouldn't really say singing as much as screaming, how much we were into how incorrectly other people were using energies. In fact, you'll hear this later. It's a pretty impactful original limerick about alternative energies. You're going to hear, we'll get to that later. So let's go ahead and get on to the next slide, please. Now, what makes energy? And like I was saying in the beginning, you have to understand what energy is to find out how to alternate it. Now, you have things like human health, which is on the left side of that. And that comes from putting blue rocks underneath of the grass to make sure that things can be gas controlled and pushed up, or else there's going to get a red arrow over to the fire. Now, groundwater is very important to this situation because without water, nothing exists. Water is the essence of life. And if energy comes from life, cut that middleman out, water is the essence of energy. So you leave the ground level of water, it does this weird almost house structure pentagon thing with these blue rocks. Once you put a pipe in the middle of it to control the gases, you're going to have whatever those words are over there, and it's really going to start pushing the groundwater over closer to the fire, creating steam. We've heard our other presenters talk about steam energy. Not going to step on those toes. Next slide, please. All right. Now, what doesn't make energy? Lots of things. You have the liquid slug. Doesn't make any energy whatsoever. It literally looks like a puddle of nothing. Then you have a long bubble. What is that? Nobody really understands how to harness the energy of a long bubble, because you would think if it's full of something, it would probably be round. The fact that it's long means there's nothing to it whatsoever. Now, we tried to measure it. You can see the long distance versus the long slug. You can even see that weird sideways C at the bottom here, which is a new unit of measurement for something that does not make energy. We tried so hard to understand, how do you measure something that you can't manage? How do you manage something without energy? You can't measure it. So I put an X all the way to the right. Next slide, please. Now, there is a such thing as too much energy, and we do not want to get into that. And if we can go back to the originators, the original presenter, he talked about the Big Bang. That was literally the last time there was too much energy in one place. It didn't go well. It banged, but like not the good kind. That was old slang. Bang is bad. Now bang's cool. We're not going to get into vernaculars. But there's a lot of things that can go around. If you look in the bottom left, that we can actually just take the earth and recycle it. It's that easy. That's going to cause way too much energy, though. Recycling, I don't know why people are doing it. There's too much energy with it. Now, in the middle slide, which for some reason I made fuzzy, and it was really probably to challenge myself, because when you get down to it, you got hot magma, you got groundwater, you have a lot of things. You have kids trying not to be caught on fire. All of that, too much energy. Probably magnetism. I honestly can't read those things. We're going to go to the next slide, please. Now, what happens when there's not enough energy? Too much energy, you get a beautiful rainbow of excitement and pizzazz. Not enough energy. It's like someone took a rainbow and crumpled it up and threw it right at the face of Michael Colby, the worst podcaster we know. Now, we could take that cube and try to understand how to pull the energy out of it. You can even try to twist that thing around like it's some kind of energetic slinky. But all that we really know is without groundwater and the circular motion of magnetism, you're not going to have enough energy. Next slide, please. Now, a brief summary of physics and energy and all that stuff. Now, I was hoping that Miss Fortuna Salad was going to get into this because, as we all know and read those magazines, her getting kicked out of Energy College was quite an event. Because of that, lots of stupid little kids came out of the woods and were like, I want to go to energy school. I want to go to energy college. I was one of those stupid idiots. And I'm like, I don't know what no anti-foam meant. I don't know what plus dynamic AF is. I had to go to energy school. And I got in there. You know how fast? Fast AF. That's how I did it. Now, you can see the VF, which I think is velocity over force. Now, in that bottom timeline, without the underswelling of the groundwater, you're not going to get anything dynamic. Literally. No foam, nothing dynamic. It's just going to be just a waste of time. Next slide, please. In conclusion, I will not deliver the original limerick, which I promised on slide 2. And like I said, it was a prog rock band that was heavily influenced by such late 80s bands of like New Kids on the Block and pre 98 Degrees, I guess, really, but like, I guess we were kind of on the cusp of rap rock. If the rock part was 98 Degrees, it was like a rap boy band. A lot of it was really, a lot of it was based around airflow. And see, here's the problem, and I really don't want to get into any kind of legal battles, but the group that I was in, you know, I owned the music. They owned the words to the songs. So I kind of just have to give you like the beat of how it was. And if you can, just think of airflow and think of not air, but like breath. Boo, 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 pop, 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 airflow, boo, 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 pop, pop, pop. See, I was the beatboxer of the group. It was like an acapella thing, so I don't really even know half the words. But yeah, I mean, that was pretty much it. It was mostly about. I can't believe I'm this embarrassed about it. I don't think I can get into it, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. It was really airflow over the waterbed dynamics of hot molten magma. And yeah, I'm going to have to just bow out of the lyric part of this because I can't think of anything rhymes with magma for some reason. But I tell you what, though, I will put the link to our one viral video in the show notes. So if you do want to see my original band do the original cover of that song, I'll do that there. And yeah, honestly, now that I've let myself down while forgetting the words to my literally favorite song, I'm going to take any questions that have nothing to do with music.
Right.
Guy Incognito.
Now, this feels like a bit of a cop-out because we were promised not a cover of your band's song Limerick. We were promised an original limerick.
Yeah, no,
that
right.
you were supposed to make up on the spot. It's
five
lines.
fine.
It shouldn't be that hard. Why don't you just make up a limerick?
Fine. I'm not making up a limerick. This is a very important song that was really in the core of my being, but
it's not original. I want an original.
Steamed potato. Oh, steamed potato. Where do you go, steamed potato? Microwave. Where do you go, steamed potato? Microwave. It was it was a lot of air flowing. I really don't want to. I'm sorry, guys.
My next question is that wasn't a limerick.
What? Oh, I'm supposed to just say the words?
Yes.
You didn't want me to sing it? Okay, for the record, so that we're all on the same page here, because I think there's been a little bit of debate going on. Will somebody please explain the word limerick, and I can answer this question once and for all? I'm not dodging. I'm not starting. I apparently just don't understand. What is a limerick?
A limerick is a rhyming poem of 5 lines. A-A-B-B-A.
Oh. Is there a certain amount of syllables to it?
No. Don't mind me. I've had an accident.
Where do you go, oh little unbaked potato? Into the microwave will flow without the proper amount of... No, I really messed that one up. Where do you go, Mr. Potato? Is it A-A-B-B-A? Is that how it's supposed to go? I don't like that question.
There once was a man from Nantucket. That's a limerick.
Oh, that's a limerick.
Yes.
Oh, well, why do you say that?
Family-friendly show.
Okay, sorry. After the next question, I will try to remember that amazing limerick.
You answered my question, which
thank
was,
you.
do you know what a limerick is?
No. Fortuna salad.
So I'd love to hear you besides airflow. I'd love to know the inspiration for your viral limerick.
Yeah. So, like I said, the reason that a lot of me and my stupid woods folk went to energy college was because we heard of this amazing tale of a blood battery. And that made no sense to us whatsoever. So we really hunted down the tale of the blood battery, which led us down to the energy school. And that was really where I started learning how to beatbox, not learn what limericks are, but fully understand airflow. So yeah, it was back in the blood battery days.
Yeah, I mean, I completely understand. Yeah, I mean, what powers us but blood? So you put it right in a battery. I mean, it could make you go forever. That's just what I'm saying.
You're right. The problem is that no matter where I put that blood battery into myself, it did not give me energy. Guy Incognito, you have a question?
No.
Your hand is up. I can see it. Okay, not that kind of show, sir. I guess without any more questions, Guy Incognito, can you please wrap this thing up?
I suppose.
Limerick.
Yeah. Well, as everyone knows, the next thing we do on this show is we determine a winner. This was a competition, whether you knew it or not. So what we're going to do now is we are going to put the presenters in the order that they went, which has already happened. The winner today will receive a $50,000 scholarship to not No Time to Binge, to Some Nobodies University. And the way that we are going to vote on this is we are going to count down from 3, and on 3, on 1, we're going to hold up the number of fingers as the presenter. I should have read this instead of just going off the dome.
I already understand. You haven't even explained it. I got it.
Okay, so I'm 1. Fortuna salad is 2.
Right.
Halliburton Shillingsby is 3. And mess hall is 4. And so I'm going to count down from 3, and we're going to decide who wins $50,000.
Wow.
Straight from
I didn't
Some
know the
Nobodies
stakes were so
Patreon.
high.
Patreon.com/Some Nobodies.
Yeah.
All right. Are we all ready? Do we all know who we want to win?
Yeah.
All right. Well, then we're going to count down 3, 2, 1.
Oh, it's a tie.
Hmm?
What do
Change
you
your vote.
What?
Someone doesn't know how to signify and complete
split
the
it.
challenge. Come on.
All right. You're going to have to split. You're going to have to split.
I thought we were going to do some kind of sound off of some sort.
No
It's a challenge.
tiebreakers.
Is it a limerick off?
As a matter of fact, this day, it's going to be a limerick off.
Oh, shit.
Yes.
You go first,
right.
Jess Paul. Fortuna salad.
I'm not sure what I can say.
You can
But
say
if
any.
today is the day, then I've been out of chances. I'm here for the dances. And I am not okay. Those are the alternative energies.
Dang. That's pretty good. I'm not sure how. I don't know how you actually read my script. So now I have to make up another one. On a panel, we sit, learning this and that. Energies come from burning fat, whether it's blood batteries, potatoes, or a man named Shillingsby. All that we can do. I forgot how the first part was. All the
Well,
we
it
can do
looks
is
like the winner.
It
looks like the winner.
I really don't know what
Dude,
was.
I had it. If I could write that down, I had it.
The $50,000.
Okay, Jess Paul, you win a $50,000 grant to Some Nobodies University and this beautiful Miss Piggy sexy piggy bank
That's everything I've always wanted.
from 1987. Unfortunately, it is missing the part that holds the coins in.
Right, that would
but
be exhausting.
she is very, very sexy. Thank you very much, Jess Paul, for being such a gracious winner. They're hard to find. Guy Incognito, would you like to talk us off, please?
Yes, now we're going to do all of our plugs and things for the other things we were on, and I'm going to make a big announcement right now.
Oh my god.
It was me, Michael Colby, the whole
Holy shit. It was Michael Colby.
Boo.
Oh my god.
Traitor!
Colby.
I feel deceived.
From Jack Billings Presents Haunted Apartment Complex.
I gave you my
From
kidney.
I Love This Terrible Game, a video game show where we talk about video games. From Generation Clash, a music podcast. And from 2022's podcast of the year, No Time to Binge. Michael Colby, you can find all of those things anywhere that you can find podcasts. Jess Paul.
Jess Paul, just Google me.
Oh, yeah. All right. Pithy.
That's
I
what
could-
it says on her business card.
I cannot wait till we're cool enough to just say, you know what, just Google me. Listen, my name is Mess Hall. You can find me at my podcast. This is Mess Hall. You can also Google me, Mess Hall.
Yes.
You know, it took me till literally your presentation to realize that rhymed with my own name.
You could have limericked it.
Let me start workshopping this.
All right, Halliburton Shillingsley, where can we
It says
find
a
you?
lot more about me, darling.
No.
Find me in all of the Some Nobodies stuff with Zach, or Mess Hall, I should say. That's the second time I've messed up this episode. Usually I don't have a Kleenex shoved in my nose, but I'm going through some stuff right now.
That's also not true.
That's
No,
true. No,
He is
it's-
going through some stuff. You should see our feed. It's huge.
Yeah.
Cocoa, and he just
Oh
went
my
through
God.
that.
Business. What can I say? Yeah, Twitching Upstream, Talking Upstream. We're also on No Time to Binge, which got podcast of the year, comedy podcast, entertainment or pop culture podcast, whatever.
Pop
They're all
culture,
entertaining.
yes.
Silicon Angels podcast show, CYOP appeal, all of that fun stuff.
Yeah.
I have to
Yeah.
go.
Now, Jess Paul, because you won, you get to tell us what our next presentation is going to be.
Are you serious? I get to pick.
Yep.
No way.
We're not
Right now.
obligated to actually do it.
Oh, what?
What? Yeah. No.
Oh no, we are, of course, yes.
Yeah,
wait, wait,
absolutely.
can-
We
can
always
I end
do the
this-
one that the guest picks.
Yep.
Oh, wow. I'm like looking around me for ideas. So it could be anything.
Anything.
Seasons.
Okay, guys.
Four.
Okay. Join us
Cool.
next week when our topic for our presentations will be seasons.
All right, now,
Seasonings,
And the final,
seasons.
and
Seasons of Love.
the newest thing that the winner gets is to give us a brand new going away slogan.
You mean a sign off?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. So this show is called PowerPoint Showdown.
Perfect.
Wait, no.
Okay, sorry.
Until next time, this show is called PowerPoint Showdown.
Okay, PowerPoint Showdown. Show up and limerick off.
Oh. Tune in next week.
Beautiful.
PowerPoint Limerick Off Showdown, where we get down into things that rhyme and things that Zach says because he doesn't know how to rhyme. Dill, what's your sign off now?
Go limerick yourself.
All right, look, Guy Incognito, what's your sign off?
PowerPoint me the fuck out of here.
That's right. I
There we
like that
go.
one.
All
I
right.
voted
Sure.
for that
All
one.
right, on that, next slide, guys.
Bye bye, everybody.
All right.
Thank you for watching PowerPoint Showdown. Today's winner will receive a $50,000 grant courtesy of Some Nobodies Patreon. Congratulations on your win! Join us next week for another showdown.
Thanks for providing that big prize, guys.